everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Artistically Black, the continuing conversation on the expansiveness of the Black community, the love and labor of art, and the connection between the two. I am your host, Dannielle Hutchinson, and I am so happy that you have joined us today. I have two wonderful guest artists with me today. We are joined today to talk about Adventure Theater's production of Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster. So please welcome Ayesha Gowie and Davinia Shorter. Hello, friends.
Hi, Dannielle.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Ayesha, how are you doing? Oh, no, I think you might be muted. There we go.
Okay. I'm doing good.
Excellent. So let me ask you, how's the run going so far?
It's going well. It's been kind of a little up and down process, but we're getting in a good place, and I think it's going pretty well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of seeing the show last week, and I was thoroughly entertained. So, if you could tell our audience, for those who may not be familiar with the show, can you tell us a little bit about Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster, and what your role is in the show?
Yeah. So, Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster is a musical about a young girl who is a superhero, and she kind of goes to this school, all her friends, and she helps them out with all of their problems. So she's this is Fantastic Girl. She helps her friends, family with all of their problems, but she has one problem herself, which is she is afraid of math. So basically what happens is this character called the Math Monster shows up, and that is sort of the embodiment of her fear of math, and her problems with being able to do math. And so it's sort of her journey with this math monster and coming to sort of, not terms, but coming to a
terms is okay
together. Yeah. I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So,
and who do you play in the show?
I play Dr. Hoffman, who is one of Fantastic Girl's two moms, who are scientists, and I am her botanist mother. So I have my plants. I do a lot of different experiments with different plants and everything like that, and just really chill, hippie kind of mom.
I do love that. I love the her moms, and I love that the difference in personality, because that really shines in what their career choices are and what kind of scientists they are. Really shows in their personality. Can you tell me about the rehearsal process of working on this show, because it is a new piece, and for a children's show, I can imagine that working on an adult show, getting new script pages and stuff like that. But how is that rehearsal process for working on Fantastic Girl?
Yeah, it was. So we actually had the playwright with us, Tori, for quite a few of the rehearsals. So I think that was a pretty cool experience because, when we had questions, they were able to chime in and clarify certain things. And I've done new work before, but never had, the playwright so accessible and even in the rehearsal process. So that was really cool. And otherwise, it was great. I mean, just being able to build these characters from, to be the first ones to explore them and create these characters was really cool. And just yeah, it was exciting. Not super I don't think were super many differences, versus like it being theater for young audiences and versus like an adult show, as you say. But it was a really, really cool process.
And how many weeks of rehearsal did you all have to kind of put it up?
It was about I want to say 3.5
Oh boy.
weeks. Yeah,
Oh
it
boy.
was it was a very fast rehearsal process,
And
actually.
that's learning the blocking and the music and the choreography, which is also fantastic.
Mhm.
Davinia, being because you serve you wear many hats.
Yeah.
In addition to being the producer of this show, you are also the literary manager for Adventure Theater.
Mhm.
So you have had some time with this script.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the process was of getting Fantastic Girl, even to Adventure?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've been with this script for about 2 years now. We got it in, I think, about the fall of like 2019, which is actually when I had just started at Adventure. And work, I think, really began in earnest in like the very early stages of like 2020, like in January. So it's been with me for a really long time, and I'm super grateful for that. It's interesting the way that like this show got brought into, because it was really based off of, funny enough, like friendships and relationships. Our artistic director Cho Kong had met with Tori and Maddie, the writers of the show, and knew that they were local writers, knew that they were really great artists with really great minds, and pitched this completely different idea, but somewhat related idea of like a super girl type of heroine for a TYA story. And Maddie and Tori came back with a completely different pitch based off of that, about math and about like dealing with anxieties and what it is to process big emotions at really young ages. And it really has like grown from there. So it was something that was sort of, we wanted to work with these two writers. We wanted to have their work at our theater, and we were able to give them a space to create something that they wanted to see and really work in a partnership from there. And it's been really lovely.
And how is the script, how's the show kind of evolved since it's started with readings and workshops and even back in with a first draft?
It's really changed, but also the heart of it is really the same. I think Tori and Maddie had a really strong vision for what they wanted this show to be. Like the soundscape of the show is very 80s, and Maddie had that in mind for a really long time. Maddie made like a Fantastic Girl playlist that has like all of the jams. You can hear some of it in the pre-show music when you come see the show. And Tori really wanted Fantastic Girl to be, to be this character that is so excited and thrilled and happy to show her strengths, but really struggles with the things that maybe she's not so good at. And what does that look like, and how do we embrace that? And that part has stayed the same. I think throughout the process, though, we've really seen them focus in on the story and like build a really strong connection between Math Monster and Fantastic Girl, even on the page. And also Calculating Sam, who is one of the brilliant other characters in this play, really seeing what it means for other people to be dealing with their own issues at the same time as we're dealing with ours. And everyone, has a tendency to feel like they might be the only one experiencing a certain type of problem. But then you realize that that's actually not true. And that's actually a good thing, because then you have support. And then there are other ways that we can all experience these challenges together. so that way we survive them together. And that evolution was a really natural part of the process as we brought more actors into the room, as we brought more directors and collaborators who really looked at the script and said, how can we make each of these really lovely individual pieces shine? And Tori and Maddie were really receptive to that, which was great.
I loved this piece. I had fun from the time I got to the theater, listening to the pre-show music to the end of the show. It's a rocking good time.
Yeah.
Everybody is just so full of energy, and it's entertaining. And Ayesha, I wanted, because I know what I not sure I can pick one favorite part of the show, but I'll flip it and I'll ask it a different way, since you've been with it a much longer time. What has been your favorite part of the process?
Yeah, my favorite part of the process has honestly been just getting to discuss. I really enjoyed discussing the different characters, with the director Jenny and the rest of the cast, and getting like insight into where everyone's sort of coming from. I really enjoyed that, and honestly, just the script itself, like the play itself, is so fun and so also just poignant. We've like talked about it with the cast. Like I've talked with other members of the cast about it too. Like it is not even just for, kids. Like this is like the themes and everything in it is things that I myself as an adult, and I'm sure other people will need to hear. So it's um just such a privilege, I guess, to be working on something that has that such a powerful message, um, for both kids and for adults, and has so much representation. The diversity of it is, it's truly amazing. So and seeing it, go from the reading to what it has become now, like you said, all the energy that all the cast brings to it. They're all wonderful people, and I've loved the process of that.
You brought up the representation, because I looked at this cast, and I looked at the different relationships and the dynamics of everything going on. And this show, representation is so important. I think, as an outsider, Fantastic Girl could have been played by any young person. Could have been paid by any young person. But I ask you, but what is the impact and importance of her being played by a person of color, by a young girl who is a person of color, by a little Black girl? Why is it, and this is a question for both of you, why is that so important? Why does that specific representation matter?
Yeah. For me, I think even, and I was like thinking about this the other day, just the fact that it is, a young Black girl playing this lead character is so important and powerful, because right, in society there is a lot of pressure on Black girls, Black women, to be, the strong Black woman trope, and be, basically like the backbone to whether it's the family, the friends, the whatever in society, and really not have a chance to be vulnerable, to show anxieties, and to really have like a, evolution in the same way. It's really such like a stereotype. And so I think for Fantastical to be played by a young Black girl, personally for me, is so important and powerful, just for, you know, kids to see that, kids who look like her to see that, and see a different narrative, and realize, you know, you can be, and because of even the process that she goes through herself, to be like, I need to be, you know, so amazing and perfect and fantastic, is just, it kind of echoes that in itself, to like realize, oh, actually I have flaws, and actually I can't be perfect all the time, but it's okay, and I'm human.
I love that. Davinia?
Yeah, this is such a great question, because really seeing that role fulfilled that way was a sort of like lovely completion of the work that Tori and Maddie had started. From like a dramaturgical perspective, when they started writing the show, we spoke really intentionally and really candidly about what the show could look like and who they wanted in these roles. Like, what did they want this to look like when it was on stage? And there was a lot of discussion of like whether or not it should be specified of like who could play Fantastic Girl. And I think came down to making sure that the intention was clear, that like Fantastic Girl is always intended to be played by a young girl of color. Well, and that's been the intention for the show, and that's been the idea behind the show, and that the whole entire cast of it is really meant to be as diverse as possible, in like a true meaning of the word of like diverse as possible, and really exploring that. But then also from the writing perspective of like making sure that your writing is intentionally open enough for that. Can you step into the role from your background and really bring those pieces together? I think Ayesha spoke really beautifully to what it is to step in that role as a Black woman and with that perspective. But that role and that perspective is going to look different when you're from a different background. And it was a real journey working with Tori specifically in the book, and with Maddie on the music, of how to open up that journey so that way it's accessible for a variety of reasons, and for the audience and for your actors. How do they step into this and bring their full selves to it? And also, how do you create a role where they want to? And it's really, really wonderful to see that be successful. It makes me very happy.
It was just as great to watch that. It made me think, oh man, I'm not good at math either.
Right.
But I have my own math monster. But okay.
I have an Excel monster.
Okay. Listen, you know, it's interesting, you know, watching those moments of vulnerability, and how Fantastic Girl tackles them. And you, even as an adult, you can sit there and you can think, you know what? It's not that bad. I can do this. And I love that. I love the fact that she has two moms.
Yep.
I love the inclusion of a non-binary character, pronouns they them. The writing is so well done. In from an inclusion perspective. And that is important to me. Why? Let me see how I want to say this. Because of that, I think that you know, why do you think it's so important that those, on top of having Fantastic Girl be played by a young person of color, why is it important to include the fact that, you know, families that step out of the traditional roles? Why is that another layer that needs to be as a part of this production?
Ayesha, do you want to tackle this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because when we were getting close to opening the show, I remember Chill, like the artistic director, like came to me and Carolyn and was like, so glad that you guys are playing this role. Carolyn plays my wife, who is Fantastic Girl's other mom. And he said, you know, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. This would be the first time in theater for young audiences that we would have these LGBT characters, you know, in roles like this. And you know, it really just kind of like hit me suddenly. Like, you know, I hadn't really thought of that because um when I was cast, you know, I just like, you know, approach it like, you know, of course, you know, just any other relationship. And I think it's important because um that is um society, you know, that's how it is. It's important that the representations on stage reflect our world, you know. And a part of that is LGBT representation, you know, for kids who have two moms, two dads, or anything like that, just for them to see that reflected, for them to realize that that's perfectly normal, of course, and we're representing it in um, a musical, and also for the next generation to see that as, you know, just as valid as if it was a mom and a dad on stage. So and everything else, because the whatever the kids see, you know, that's their perspective, and they're going to carry that on in the future. So yeah, I think it's important. And um you know, no versus, well, not versus, but um you know, seeing that in media, and seeing it in a show, whether it's TV, film, and seeing it in a play, um, you know, it's important to make sure that everyone's represented, and that kids understand that you know, that's totally normal.
I love that. Divinity,
Yeah.
did you want to add something?
I mean, I think Ayesha said so many things so wonderfully, but it's, you know, as we talk about it, my thinking is that it's almost important because it really shouldn't be this important, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this is just what families look like, and families have so many different avenues, and there are so many things that are a family. There are just couples that are a family. There are just one parent and a child, or multiple children that are families. And I think the spirit that Tori and Maddie really wrote this was, you know, from their own like various like queer lens, and like what is it to have a home that looks different. I think everything they approached this in Tori's language was positive stakes, you know, everything coming
Mm-hmm.
from a place of like, what does this look like in a positive way? And that also meant spinning things differently. What does everything look like if it's a little different than what people expect? And then challenging that by making it not at all very different from what you expect. You know, there are parents who work as a team. Dr. Hoffman and Dr. Herschel still have to work as a team. They're still navigating, you know, a young child who they want very much to give space to, but they also want to support really well. And I think, like Ayesha said, it's really lovely to be able to just put that in front of audiences and
Mm-hmm.
put that in front of people and remind them that, like, this is what someone's family looks like. And it might be you who are sitting there and you're like, that's what my family looks like, or it might not be. And all of that is going to expand your perspective, whether you're young or whether you're old. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal. And that's part of like the vision I think that we have for theater as like art makers.
I love that. I agree. I think that it is just as important to show you know, traditional as it is to show those LGBT Pride Plus families and representation, because it is a great representation of what our world looks like. Those, they need acceptance and a presence just like everybody else. And I do hope that we get to a place where, you know, that is not, you know, we're not having to fight and make it I struggle to say to make it a thing, but I want it to be normal. I
Yeah.
think
Right.
that's what it is. It just needs to be part of, normal everyday life, and not looked at as being some sort of other, which
Right.
I think is, we're gonna get there. I believe we will get there.
Yeah.
I want to ask this last question before I let you go. What is, and I don't want to ask it, I want to ask it differently. What is your takeaway from this show? What is the message or the feeling that you are left with?
Ayesha, I'll go first this time.
Yeah, go for it.
I think one of my favorite moment in the show, and it's been this for a really long time, is brainstorm into greater than. And I don't want to spoil it too much for the viewers at home, but basically Fantastic Girl hits sort of her final wall, her biggest wall, and we really see what she's truly afraid of, and finds her way through it. And I honestly cry every time I hear that song. And I think my biggest takeaway, I have two. I will cheat. I have two. One is that, like, acceptance, accepting that you're human, accepting that at any age, at any stage, that you are just one person trying to make it through the world. And that is really, really challenging, especially right now. But it is really, really hard. And it's okay that it's hard. It's okay that you mess up. It's okay. And you can accept that and still feel like you are fantastic and you are still amazing, even when you do mess up. That's my one takeaway. And the other is that friends are in unlikely places, and sometimes we think we're alone in our challenges, and we're not. And it's a really beautiful thing when you find out that you're not, and you can have that solidarity. And I think that's it's a smaller message in the script, but it's one that's always stuck with me, is like the solidarity of realizing you're not going through this alone.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, I have to sort of agree with Davinia here that the brainstorm integrator then is also one of my favorite parts, and I think really like the heart of the story, in my opinion. And I it's so beautiful, and I agree. I think my takeaway is definitely just that you are enough as a person, and it's not important what you do well or badly, or what mistakes you make or don't make. um, it's just like the heart of that, and what I always take from that and love so much is that just just breathe, and you're enough. It's okay. Your existence is enough. And to me, I think that's a super important message for all people, all artists especially, and then but everybody. And I think, yeah, it's super powerful. And I also very much love that part. And I think yeah, it's just, you you're gonna be just fine. It's all gonna work out just fine, and you're gonna be okay.
I love that. Thank you so much for giving of your time today to join us for this episode of Artistically Black. This was great. Um, you all are wonderful and amazing.
Thank
Please, please,
you.
please, friends, if you have young people in your life, please go see Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster at Adventure Theater. It runs through August 21st.
Yep.
August
Yep.
26th.
You
Yes, I got it right. Math.
Yeah.
I took this number and I added this number, and I
There you
got August.
go.
Woo! But please go see Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster. You'll have a wonderful, wonderful time. You'll learn a lot. I learned a lot, and it's a great time. You'll be in the presence of some great artists. So please go see Fantastic Girl and the Math Monster. I'm going to keep saying it just in case you forgot the title of the show. It runs through August 21st. And if you, as always, if you find it in your heart to make a donation, you can make a donation at atmtc.org. No donation is too big and no donation is too small. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Davinia. Thank you, Ayesha. This was fantastic. This has been Artistically Black. And remember, stay artistic and stay Black. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.